from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, January 28th. So we do have the moon now in Sagittarius energy. Again, we are now future focused. We are hopeful. We are optimistic. We are feeling more confident. We are renewing our spirit within ourselves. We are a little bit definitely positioned to see a little bit more of the bigger picture than we have been seeing in the past couple of days. We are orienting to what it is that we want to bring to life. We're on a new quest, a new purpose, a new mission, a new meaning, and we are definitely flying high with a new sense of optimism that will definitely bridge the gap between where it is that we're at and where it is that we want to be in a much shorter time frame. So there are 11 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them involve the moon. You should keep in mind that this is the very last day that Venus is in a retrograde. She is going to come out of that dark pit tomorrow. And we also have some very powerful aspects backing her, encouraging her tomorrow, which means that today we have a lot of intense energies really pushing us to wrap up the life lessons that Venus being in a retrograde wanted us to learn. We have a lot of applied pressure in our mental plane and in our heart chakra, trying to get us on the same page. We have a lot of activating energies really pushing us to think futuristically instead of continuously look behind into the past, which we've been doing for the past, I'm going to say, at least solid week with some of these energies in a retrograde. And of course, we are being prepped and primed here today for a huge revelation, a huge perspective shift that is coming tomorrow. So the moon is going to sextile Saturn, and this is going to be a beautiful energy, especially compared to the last couple of days, because we've been looking at our roles and our responsibilities with a lot of weight, a lot of heaviness, a lot of obligation, if you will. And now with the moon in Sag, we're being a little bit lighter with it. We're being a little bit more positive and optimistic about it. We're now recognizing that we have a lot of power that we have been failing to actually use and implement in our lives. And because Saturn is focused on what it is that we need to change, what it is we need to improve, what it is that we continuously have to push ourselves to be better about, we're now recognizing where it is that we can lighten the load, change the perspective on what it is that we will be doing as we build new foundation systems and structures, reworking, reorganizing our roles and responsibilities, the commitments in which we've made. The moon in Sag is going to bump into Uranus, and after yesterday's little emotional confusion, emotional chaos, not knowing what it is that we need to do for ourselves, this is going to give us a little bit of clarity. The moon in Sag, again, very hopeful, very much focused on the big picture. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that big picture so that we can break it down into smaller details so that we can actually accomplish our end goal. This is exactly what the moon bumping into Uranus is going to provide us with. Yes, we had a hard time focusing on what it is we need to do for ourselves in the now yesterday, but today we are seeing the bigger, brighter picture, the possibilities of our future self, and we're aligning with a vision that feels good to our mind, our body, our soul. And so because we have a little bit of a glimpse on what it is that we know we want for ourselves in a future sense, we can figure out what it is, even the small little baby steps that we have to do in our day-to-day lives in the here and now to create that system, that routine, that foundation that we know we feel good about when we think of ourselves in a future situation. The moon is going to square Neptune, and this is definitely going to put us at a little bit of odds with our intuition, because the moon in Sag is a little bit big. It's ruled over by Jupiter, so we tend to get a little bit extra with our thoughts, with our ideas, with our great grand vision, with our emotions. And right now, we're kind of dreaming a bigger dream. We are hopeful. We're running with this new optimistic, positive energy, but the Neptune energy, which is in its place of power in Pisces, wants us to align with our higher selves, wants us to strengthen our connection with our intuition, wants us to really pull out our creative skills in coming up with some solutions to the problems that we well, with the moon and Sag, we don't want to focus on. We've had enough focusing on the problems. Now we're trying to focus on the solutions. But this square is a tension point because we're kind of not being as realistic as we need to be, thinking about our future selves, thinking about the path forward, thinking about the new truth that is being revealed within us. And the Neptune energy wants us so bad to just get in alignment with our higher selves, but the connection is a little bit scratchy. It's a little bit faded. Now, this square does create an internalized power struggle and internalized conflict in order for us to actually make a change in our heart space, in our mind space, in our physical reality. So we do need this tension to build up, this disconnect to actually happen between our heart and our head, between our egoic and higher selves, in order to find the middle ground. Mercury is going to bump into Chiron in a very positive way. Now, let's just break this down for 2 seconds here. Mercury is now retrograde in Capricorn, meaning we are very down to earth, reviewing all that is transpired, analyzing the comings and goings, our thoughts, our ideas, our emotions. We are plucking out the silver linings from the struggles, from the obstacles, and this Chiron energy is asking us to rework the narrative so that we can provide ourselves with a sense of healing. Mercury is the mental plane. Chiron is the wounded healer. And because, Mercury being in Capricorn tends to bring out the negative Nancy in all of us, we have to recognize that our thoughts get a little bit low. They get a little bit dark. But here's the thing. This isn't our first rodeo. Mercury was in Capricorn prior to Christmas, up until the very beginnings of January. It then moved into Aquarius. We got this big picture. We got this inspiration. We liberated and freed ourselves from some of these darker thoughts and energies. And then Mercury went retrograde. Now we're working our way back into this Capricorn energy, and we get to rethink, re-edit, revise all that has transpired since the beginning of Christmas, since the beginning of this year. That is where Mercury definitely was at the same degrees in which it's currently re-experiencing, retracing its step in the here and now. Basically, we have an ability, we have a power, we have an opportunity to reframe our narrative, to build ourselves up, to adopt a brand new narrative that is more supportive, more light than some of the darker thoughts that we definitely had over this past month. The moon is going to semi-square the sun. Now, a semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, but here's the thing. The moon in Sag is very inspired. We are on a quest for a new mission, a new meaning, a new truth, a new purpose. We want the bigger picture. We see the bigger picture. And the sun in Aquarius wants to shine a bright light on where it is that we can be better, where it is that we can improve, where it is that our future selves need us to get a grip in the here and now, take control over the elements in which we have control over in the here and now, to start building, to start exerting ourselves, to stand in our power, changing the way that we do things, opening our minds up to new ways of doing things in order to actually see that big dream, the big vision actually be obtainable. We're going to get some help here because the moon goes ahead and bumps into Jupiter. And of course, Jupiter wants us to grow. He wants us to improve. He wants us to expand. He wants us to enlighten ourselves. And this is a good energy because we're finally in alignment. We kind of had to turn the volume down on our dreams to become a little bit more realistic. We have Mercury retrograde in a Capricorn energy, helping us to kind of ground out, to be logical, to be practical. So we are kind of turning the volume down on our very grand vision and dream so that we can become a little bit more realistic with what it is that's actually possible. Jupiter, who's in Pisces, wants us to align with our higher selves, wants us to tap into the creativity, wants us to, yes, see where, everything that we want is obtainable, but we got to do the work in the here and now. So this is a beautiful energy. It's almost like we are agreeing to meet in the middle, to compromise, to see where it is that maybe we bit off more than we can chew as far as the dreams and the goals that we had. We were a little bit extra. Now we're turning the volume down to become a little bit more realistic with what it is that we know we're actually capable of achieving. The moon is going to bump into Uranus. And again, this is going to provide us with a little bit of clarity, but also a little bit more confusion. Again, the confusion is necessary. I know it doesn't feel good, but we sometimes have to be very uncertain about what it is that we're doing in this present moment, about what it is that we need for ourselves to support ourselves, to feel validated and encouraged. Sometimes we need to feel confusion in the here and now in order for us to dream a dream of our future selves that feels good. And once we can align with that vision and we can back it with an emotion, then we just have to break it down into manageable steps in order for us to actually accomplish. So again, the confusion is a little bit of a help at this point. We do have to expect a little bit of an emotional disruption. We do have to expect that plans may not go as planned. All of this is a divine detour on a path that is much more aligned to what it is that your highest self needs from you. And of course, providing you with a path of least resistance. Now, the sun in Aquarius is going to sextile Chiron. This is beautiful because after this little breakdown, this moment of confusion, now we're putting pieces together. We now have a sense of purpose. We now have an aha moment. We now are recognizing our new mission. We are now busting out with confidence. We are seeing the power that we have. We are eager to learn new ways. We are eager to grow and improve past this present moment. And we're kind of getting hyped up because we're finally feeling like we're moving out of the funk. Who doesn't want to move out of the funk? We've been here long enough. The moon is going to help us out by bumping into Pluto. And Pluto empowers us through the pain, through the struggle, through the obstacles, through the challenges. Sometimes we need to be reminded of all that we've been through so that we don't kind of diminish our power to get through the next chapter of challenges. This is really going to boss us up to get a grip over our emotions, over our mental plane, put those blinders on, focus on the end goal, and of course be inspired to never ever stop until we actually reach that end goal, that end vision, that end dream. The moon is going to bump into Mercury because, of course, Mercury and Pluto are very close together here. They're going to conjunct here in a second. And the moon bumping into Mercury, who is retrograde in Capricorn, is likely going to put us at odds between our heart and our head, right? Our heart trying very hard to heal the wounds of the past, to disconnect, to cut the cords from our past pain, our past experiences. We just bumped into Pluto, so all of this negative energy, all of these past pains, these past traumas are very alive and well, but they're meant to inspire us. They're meant to motivate us. The moon bumping into Mercury in this way can definitely bring in the negative narrative. And we definitely don't need that at this particular point. But sometimes we have to recognize where it is that the narrative in our head has been there for so long that we have to rewrite it with a better script, a more encouraging and supportive script in order to actually bust free from the limiting beliefs that we often get sucked back into. At the end of the day, at 11:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a beautiful numerological number, we have Mercury conjunct with Pluto. This is these two bumping into each other, sitting next to one another in the cosmos. And let me tell you, this isn't the first time it happened. We had our first Mercury and Pluto conjunction back in December on the 30th. We will have our next Mercury and Pluto conjunction February 11th. Why is this important? First of all, we uncover some very, very hidden truths, which is going to help us on the collective. It also brings forth and unearths some very valuable information that is going to impact our actions in actually moving forward. It also blows open a brand new perspective of all that is transpired, which brings us a brand new understanding, which means that we can rewrite the narrative of the past, which also impacts the emotions in which we're currently carrying. Yes, this is intense. Yes, there's a major focus. Yes, we're revealing truth at a very accelerated rate. Yes, we can become very obsessed and fixated on this quote unquote truth that was hidden away from us. This potentially shifts our reality because it shifts our mental plane. We have to understand that all change, all transformation starts first in the mental plane, then in the heart space before we will see it in our physical realities. This is absolutely profound. This is going to be jolting. This is going to be jarring. This is going to give us the information as ammunition that we need to propel ourselves, push ourselves into the path that we now know we are inspired and that we are divinely scripted to pursue. So this Plutonian energy, yes, it can be dark. Yes, it can be painful. Yes, it can have a lot of challenges and obstacles to swallow that huge truth pill. But damn, once you do it and you open your eyes and you see everything from a brand new light, it totally changes the game. And that's what we're about to move into, is a month. Keep in mind, we only got a couple days left of January. Once we move into February, we're in a brand new playing field. So this particular aspect is going to be profound, not only for the collective, but in your individual lives as well.